I think these are really good opponents. When you look at T rank and where some of them are ranked, UCLA's preseason number 7 right now, Baylor's number 2, Virginia's in the top 20 at number 16, and Illinois is at number 13. So they are comparable, at least projections wise, to a lot of those programs. And even Texas is, I believe, in the top 10 as well. So they all have really highly touted or opponents who are supposed to be really good. Sim, do you have any of these opponents that you really circle that you're really excited to see? I have one matchup wise that I think is just going to be really fun to watch.
If I had to pick one in particular, that's a good question because I feel like for me, UCLA, Texas, and Baylor, not having done a ton of preseason work yet, but they're all like roughly in the same tier. Like I think I'm maybe a bit higher on Texas than the consensus. I do like their roster and think there'll be a good mix of in terms of like a team with size that can maybe punish Illinois. I think Texas is the most interesting look because they have size on the wing and size in the front court. And whereas like UCLA, like they're a good team, but they're not huge. Baylor's actually not like that big of a team up front, maybe more so on the wings at the guard spot. So I think for me, it's Texas. Just how does Illinois this Texas team isn't as good as the Baylor team Illinois played in the Jimmy V Classic in 2020 when they had like Io and Kofi, but it's probably just the biggest, most athletic team on their schedule. And those have been the teams that trip Illinois up in March. Well, I guess not Loyola, but you know what I mean? Like those are, the teams that can cause havoc in March. So I guess I'm excited to see how they match up with Texas's positional size.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see them match up with UCLA. I think that kind of matchup across the board is kind of fun. You've got Tiger Campbell, obviously at point guards, are pretty good players. Skyy Clark, you expect him to be a pretty good player. Skyy's obviously got a size advantage there, but technicality at this point in their careers, it's hard to not give Tiger Campbell a huge advantage over Skyy Clark, I think, just with Skyy coming off the knee injury, and we could talk about that a little bit later in the show. But you even have guys like, Amari Bailey, 6'5". That's a pretty good matchup with a kid like Terrence Shannon Jr. and a good opportunity, I think, for both of them to kind of make an early statement on what their draft stocks might look for the 2023 draft. I think Amari Bailey is obviously a really highly touted prospect, probably a lottery pick, but Terrence is going to have to try and work his way back into some of that draft conversation after having a difficult season last year with the back injury and the knee injury and things just kind of not going his way. But then you also have like big kids on the inside, and Adim Bana, another 5-star freshman at 6'9". That's kind of a fun matchup for a Coleman Hawkins or a Dane Danger. And you've obviously got, Jaime Hawkins Jr. This is a conversation you and I had a couple weeks ago. Coleman, good matchup there. There's a lot of good matchups in that, and it's obviously a preview of what will be a future conference matchup between the two programs. So I think that's kind of fun. I think the UCLA matchup's a good one.
Yeah, I think UCLA is the team Illinois of this group like matched up the best with because like Haka is kind of like this power 4 and Coleman theoretically has the length to defend him. Yeah, it's a big brand. It's a future Big Ten matchup, I guess you could say. So yeah, I'm excited for that one as well. And then Baylor, if they get to Baylor, because I mean it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like,
or Baylor loses to UVA and Illinois loses to UCLA.
Yeah, if they were to get to Baylor, like, the Matthew Meyer storyline is an obvious one. But yeah, just Baylor's a team with their spread pick and roll and the way they attack, slow-footed bigs. Maybe would have given Illinois trouble in the past with Kofi Coburn, but that could be a really good test for Dane Danger. Oh, who's also a former Baylor Bear. I think we forget that sometimes. But yeah, the storylines with that one would be interesting as well as the X's and O's. I think Underwood, in a way, wants to mold his team and program like Baylor has recently.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also think that that's kind of a fun matchup on the standpoint that they're just kind of similar schematically. And like you said, Brad kind of wants to model himself off of what they do at Baylor. Another one that's kind of fun to me that I want to talk about real quick is Syracuse. Not that I think that this is going to be like a really fun game to watch because I don't really like watching Syracuse play zone defense. I'm a big man-to-man defense guy, but one of my concerns about Illinois heading into next season is their shooting ability, and zone defenses obviously tend to force you to shoot the ball pretty well in the half court. So I think that's actually kind of a good test for this team. Like, what do you get shooting wise out of RJ Melendez? What does Terrence Shannon Jr. give you as a shooter? I think that that's kind of actually a fun matchup for Illinois and maybe forces them to do things that other opponents in the ACC might not.
Yeah, and then kind of along that mold, and actually another ACC team they could see is Virginia, who like is definitely not the most talented team, but they should be better than last year just because they're more veteran. And one of my concerns with Illinois is how are they going to score in the half court? You know, where are the looks going to come from when things get tight? And no team is going to make you score in the half court more than Virginia, who will slow the game down, not let you run out, will stick to their pack line principles. And like, even though I think Illinois is a better team than Virginia, I think that could be a really tough matchup. And it's going to have to force them to get creative. And yeah, it'll be if they were to play Virginia, like it would be slow, it would be a slugfest. It's hard to blow them out. So I think it'd be a competitive game, and that'd be not a game I'm excited to see, but like just a game to give Illinois a different look.